Tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more NCAA women's basketball news, and I'm trying to make the case for South Carolina to make a run at their fourth national championship in program history under Coach Staley. Now, in the last decade or so, South Carolina has been one of the most dominant teams in college basketball and probably history in this run that they've had. Starting off with Aja Wilson all the way now to Raven Johnson and Tanaya Latson and that whole crew that they have. Now, this is going to be probably their most challenging run because of so much parity in the league, so much talent, so many great coaches, so many great players, so many great programs, which makes this game even more interesting, with this tournament even more interesting, even with their conference tournaments. They have to play a great team in Kentucky, which they, barely beat the other night. They have to play Oklahoma, who can be very physical. They have to play a Texas, who have, Madison Booker and a great scorer, and then they have Rory Harmon, who's a great point guard, probably one of the best in the game right now. Not to even mention the talent that they even have on the lower ends of Georgia. SEC has just been dominant with talent, and not to, and probably their biggest opponent will be LSU in their own conferences. So that conference kind of beats each other up, similar to what the SEC football game does. They have so many great talent. By the time they play other conferences, they're kind of beat down. Um, so it's going to be difficult for them, even their own, to get out of the conference championships, yet alone the NCAA championship. But they've been here and they've done it already under one great coach and Coach Staley. They're probably one of the easiest cases you can make for a national championship run. And I'm going to make that case now because they do have a lot of leadership and experience. Well, I'll get into in a little while, but for now, just to talk about some of the losses they had, Ashlyn Watkins, who was a phenomenal rebounder, can provide a little scoring, provide defense as well. Well, they won't have her. They won't have Chloe Kitts, who's out with a knee injury, who's a phenomenal rebounder. Before she got hurt, she was a triple double threat. She can score. She can score in the paint. She was very important to what they've done. But I think they can make it without her. It's going to be difficult because she was a key piece and a part of that championship pedigree. But they have a lot of pieces that they can work around, and they have a great coach in Coach Staley. So let me count the ways. Starting off with Raven Johnson, she's a part of that championship pedigree from the championship teams that they've had. She's a great defender. If anybody watched that national championship game with South Carolina against Iowa and Caitlin Clark's last game, she was, given the task of guarding the best player in the nation at the time in Caitlin Clark, and she did a phenomenal job causing turnovers, making it difficult for her, especially when Caitlin got off to that very hot start. She was one of the key pieces to make that game go and to give South Carolina that win. Now she's still a great, phenomenal on-ball defender, and she's improved on the scoring. She's making more threes. She's taking the three more. You can tell she really worked on that shot, and I think her draft stock has a chance to even rise even higher with this coming tournament. So Raven Johnson may be the most pivotal piece because if she can give them, 10 to 12, 10, 15 points a game, it's going to be a no-brainer that they get far as they can get all the way up to the championship. And I think, if she gives them a 15 points a game, you can pretty much write their names on the trophy now because she's not really known as a scorer. She's more of a defender and more of a facilitator of the offense. But if she can give you 15 points, that's 15 that you weren't expecting pretty much. She's usually around, under 10 points a game, but I think she has a chance to change the whole perception of South Carolina's offense, which they really don't have one. They really rely on the defense to offense kind of philosophy, being under Coach Staley, which is a great one to have. But tournament time, you're not going to get many turnovers and things like that, or you shouldn't expect that. So they definitely have to figure out an offense. Um, but speaking of offense, they do have a lot of offense in Tessa Johnson. She was an elite scorer, even her freshman year when they won the championship, and her ability to shoot the mid range as well as the 3-pointer. She's not much of a driver of the basketball, but she can provide that scoring from the outside, especially when they're clogging up the paint due to Joyce Edwards and things like that. and they have an elite scorer who Tanaya Latson is. She was the leading scorer in the nation last year when she was with Florida State. Of course, in Coach Staley's system, she's not going to average close, anywhere near that, just because they spread the basketball around, and Tanaya Latson is not the sole star anymore. But I think she went to South Carolina to be a part of a winning program and to give herself a chance at a national championship, get more eyes on her to, so somewhat, raise her draft stock that probably was already high anyway. But she is playing with that knee brace, and that's the only concern I have about her. Seems like she's not moving around fast as she used to with that knee brace, but I think she'll still be able to provide some timely scoring for them and can average anywhere from 15 to 20 points a game easily, just off of her skill set alone. So she's going to be very important to their offense, not so much their defense, because of just, I think that knee brace is kind of bothering her. But they do have an inside presence, and they probably have the best 1-2 punch as far as a front court goes. Uh, Okot is peaking at the right time. She's getting double double. She's getting a lot of rebounds. She's getting a lot of points. She's doing it all. So she's very phenomenal, and especially with the blocking on the defensive end, she's been providing a spark on that defense as far as people going in the paint. She's getting shots out of there. That is coming at the right time when the defense need to pick it up, because we know Coach Staley's motto is defense, and she's everything that she wants. Coach Staley is Okada is everything that Coach Staley wants in a player, especially on the defensive end. But the offensive end, she's doing just as great as well. So, but of course, Joyce Edwards is the focal point of that offense, just of what she's able to do from the mid range. uh, she probably could work on the outside shot a little bit more, and that's probably what separates her from Sarah Strong. And Sarah Strong being a little bit better than her is just she just doesn't shoot the outside as much. She's a more traditional post player, but her ability and her growth from her last year is just astronomical as far as expectations, because she's probably, I have her probably the second, well, probably the third greatest front court player in the nation right now. You have to put Lauren Betts up there. You have to put Sarah Strong, and then Joyce Edwards is a close third, right behind all of those guys. On any given night, any person could be one or two or three, just depending on what kind of night they have, because they have a similar skill set. Especially Sarah Strong and Joyce Edwards. Lauren Betts is very traditional. She really doesn't shoot the three as much. She's more post dominant, being at 6'7". You would expect her to be as well. But Joyce Edwards is in her second year, is making key plays, and is putting up Asia Wilson like numbers when she was at South Carolina. So she would definitely need those to beat a UConn or a LSU a second time around. She definitely has to be herself and even better than that at some points. Um, but she is a part of their best chance to win another title, because I believe people are trying to, because since South Carolina doesn't really have an offense per se, I think a lot of people be trying to key in on Joyce Edwards. So her passing out of the double team, her being able to make quick and timely baskets and get key rebounds and putbacks and things like that will be very important, because these games will be very close and be very competitive. So the key factor that you will need is unexpected plays, second chance opportunities, steals, turnovers, things like that, that you're not accounting for when you're playing a team. They're going to have to do that. Um, and most project South Carolina every year, pretty much for the last, since about 2015, for them to be in the Final Four. Now, the only roadblock for South Carolina is UConn, in my opinion. Now, LSU will be a tough assignment for him. But I think UConn is the only team that I can definitively say that can beat South Carolina in a tournament game, because UConn has had South Carolina's number in the last few years, especially when they had Paige Beckers and they had AZ Fudd and they had Sarah Strong. So you had three different pieces you had to stop. But this year, you don't have Paige Beckers, but you do still have an undefeated UConn team to deal with under Coach Gino Ariema, who is considered the greatest coach in any sports, professional, collegial, high school, whatever you want to name. He's just so accomplished. Coach Staley is trying to get there, but Geno is already there and put so many players through the league. And he'll have those people, he'll have his team ready. South Carolina will as well. But I think on a neutral field or a neutral court or anywhere, it's difficult to beat UConn. But I think South Carolina has the best opportunity to beat a UConn next to a LSU, of course. I don't think any other team in the country has enough firepower. Um, and UConn, it's just been crazy what they've been able to do. It's been unfathomable what they've been able to do. But I think South Carolina can beat them if they can cut down on the turnovers and force a couple of turnovers from UConn and pray that, UConn has an off day from the field, but they're shooting over 50% from the field. I believe it's 52% from the field as a team. So you're gonna definitely have to make it difficult on them. You're gonna have to be very defensive focused. Everything is gonna have to be on the defensive end, and you're gonna have to rebound like crazy. So it's gonna take a Herculean type effort to be UConn, but I think South Carolina can do it if anybody else could. They have the best chance to dethrone them. Now LSU, like I said before, has a lot of talent, but I don't know if they have the experience like a South Carolina does and the amount of senior leadership that they've had. With Raven Johnson and Tanaya Latson, and they even have players coming off the bench. So they have so many different pieces that they can go, but I think um, for the long haul, I would pick a South Carolina as the best opportunity to dethrone UConn this year. So tell me what your thoughts about South Carolina and their chances to win the national championship. And until next time, I'll see you next time.